Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Penguin Live TV. My name is Stephen. I'm going to be your presenter this evening. I'm going to take you on a journey with our penguins, trying to show you all that they're doing and all the interesting things that they get up to tonight. And with me tonight, we have T.
Hey, I'm Ranger T. I'll be with you tonight also, reading all of your comments and trying to answer as many of your questions as I possibly can, but not interrupting. Wonderful Stephen and the amazing penguins. Have a fabulous night, everybody.
Lovely. So thank you for tuning in tonight. And before we begin, I do want to take this moment to acknowledge the land that we are on right now. This is Phillip Island, and we want to acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional custodians of this land and pay my respects to their elders, both past, present, and emerging. I also would like to pay my respects to I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that you may be viewing from as well, wherever that may be. So feel free to leave a comment telling us where you're viewing from. It's pretty interesting for us to know what locations people are tuning in. Now, our penguins are out on the ocean right now. They're not ready to come home just yet. So we have a bit of a wait before we expect them to swim home this evening. Our penguins are called the little penguins. They are the smallest penguins in the world. They're only 33 centimeters tall. And that's pretty interesting because they're also the only penguins in the world that come out at nighttime only. Now, the reason our penguins are coming home at night is that in the daytime, there are predators who might be wanting to eat a little penguin. Any large raptor bird that's flying around that eats small animals is on the lookout for penguins because penguins are on the menu. But our penguins are pretty clever. They are not going to come home until it is nice and safe, until the sun goes down and it's dark. Because all those big scary birds that might be looking for a penguin dinner, they're going to have to go to sleep at night. They're not going to be flying around at nighttime. It's a bit too dangerous for them. So don't worry, our penguins are taking their time before they come out. They're going to come home when they feel it's safe. Now, I do want to show you a little bit of where we are right now. We're looking across the beach. You can see that white building in the distance. That's the skybox. That's where our penguin counter is currently sitting. Our penguin counter is Rachel, and she's also joined by Linda, who is assisting her to count all of the penguins that cross the beach. Now, our penguins are right now in the ocean, so we're just going to scan across here, and I want you to have a look out onto the water. See if you can spot a raft of penguins. Now, a raft of penguins is a group of penguins that's out on the ocean, swimming on the water. I don't imagine any are too close to the shore just yet. It's still a little bit early this evening, but make sure you're looking around. You'll notice a little black patch out on the ocean if you can spot a raft. All right, it's a bit of a high tide tonight, which is exciting for us. It means our penguins are going to have a very short beach to come across, which means we'll have some up close and personal views of our penguins when they're doing their little dash across the beach. Now, as you look out, maybe up into the ocean, a few hundred meters out, you might see a distant shoreline. And we are on Phillip Island right now. And Phillip Island is where the largest penguin colony, a little penguin colony in the world is. We have about 32,000 penguins that live here on the Summerlands Peninsula. Now, I work for the Phillip Island Nature Parks, and we are a not-for-profit conservation organization. And what that means is any of the money that we do receive is really going back into the protection of our little penguins, which is absolutely fantastic. We take care of the penguin colony, all 32,000 adult penguins that live here. We also have the Koala Conservation Reserve, where we have a few koalas from the bushfire-affected areas in Eastern Australia. And we also have Churchill Island and about 1,800 hectares of land under our care. That's a large area that we look after, and we're here to help protect any and all of the native species that call Phillip Island their home, penguins included. Now, it's pretty exciting to be able to see the weather out here tonight. It's a much nicer night than last night. I'm not sure who tuned in from last night, but if you're from Melbourne, you probably realized it was a bit windy and a bit stormy. Well, it's a bit calmer tonight. So hopefully we'll be able to see the penguins on the water a bit more clearly, because last night they just got washed ashore and they were battered around in the waves. Should be a bit more calm tonight. As we're waiting for our penguins, I do want to ask you to ask I want to invite you to ask as many questions as you can. That'll be absolutely fantastic. We're going to try and get to them when we can. I also want to draw your attention to the Penguin Foundation. There's a link just below the video where you're looking. And the Penguin Foundation is our charity organization. Now, if you wanted to help our conservation efforts, you can click that link below, donate to the Penguin Foundation, adopt a penguin, if you will. And that would really go a long way to helping these little penguins who call Phillip Island their home. Now, the Penguin Foundation funds a lot of things that we do here, a lot of conservation work. It also helps fund some research and a lot of education activities as well. They're absolutely fantastic. Now I'm just scanning back and forth, looking for the penguins. Haven't seen any just yet, but let me know in the comments if you've spotted any. And feel free to leave a guess as to how many penguins you think might be coming home this evening. Now the waves are pretty good tonight. Luckily there's no surfers out there. Not that the surfers bother our penguins too much. Our penguins are born and bred to swim in the ocean. They're not bothered if a surfer's out there wandering around. They might swim up close to them and then run away, swim away if they're feeling nervous. But no, the surfers should be going home this evening. We make sure that all surfers leave the beach long before the penguins do return home. Now tonight, what you can expect is that our penguins, when they feel safe, are going to swim closer and closer to the shoreline. They're going to come to this water's edge, and we might see them pause a little bit, but if they're feeling brave, they might do a quick, dangerous dash across the beach into the sand dunes. And the reason our penguins are coming home tonight is because we're just entering into a bit of an early breeding season. We've got a few chicks in the colony. We've got quite a few eggs in the colony. We won't be able to show you any of the eggs, unfortunately. They'll be tucked away safe and sound inside of a burrow. But a lot of our penguins are also getting ready to start the breeding season. And this is a very exciting time of year because penguins get up to all sorts of shenanigans during this season. So let us know in the comments if you see any cheeky behavior from our penguins. It's always a bit exciting when we do spot that. Lovely. Well, our penguins are holding their time. We do want to thank you for tuning in while we're waiting for the penguins. And we wish you were here with us tonight, enjoying this beautiful scenery. And unfortunately, we are closed to the public for the time being. But when we do reopen to the public, we would love to invite you down here. Come back and see the penguins. We do miss seeing all your smiling faces night after night. It is so much fun being able to share this experience in person, because while watching it on the comfort of your own home is fantastic. You don't have to experience the cold, windy weather that we get here on Phillip Island. It is also quite a bit of an experience to come down and feel this in person. You miss a few of the things that you might be able to experience if you come down in person, and one of those would be the smell of the penguin colony. And those of you who have visited us in the past, you can attest to how strong that smell can be, I'm sure. We have a bit of an interesting feature here tonight. We've got this...
like to say, Stephen, and we like to call it a penguin perfume.
Penguin perfume. I love it. Thanks, T. It is quite a potent perfume, not one that we're trying to sell in our gift shop, that's for sure. Now, we have this ephemeral pool that's located right here. It's a temporary pool that's caused by the recent rains that we've had. And this is a really rare feature for us to see out at Penguins Plus because it doesn't really exist throughout most of the year. And it's such a good thing for us to be able to show you on this live TV because the penguins jump in and you'll be able to see them swimming on their journey home. So that's something to look forward to tonight. All right, let's do another scan across this beach, see what we can spot coming through. Now, if you folks were visiting us, maybe some of you have been here before, you'd be able to wait for the penguins all tucked up in your nice warm jackets, making sure you're bundled up. You'd be keeping an ear out for our penguins because it's a lot easier to hear our penguins than it is to see them. And penguins make a hucking sound on the ocean. Now that hucking sound is a locator call. That's what the penguins are making out on the ocean to find each other. They're hucking their little hearts out, shouting out to their friends, "Here I am, come over to me." And that's a very short, sharp bit of a huck, 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 huck. And they use that to find each other on the ocean to gather up into those large rafts because there is safety in numbers. So when our penguins come to the shore, they want to be in the safety of numbers. They want to have the biggest group they can possibly find and cross the beach together. Now, if there was any potential late nighters around, any birds of prey looking for a very late night snack before they go home to roost for the night, a big raft of or a big group of penguins, about 100 penguins in size, they're probably not going to try and attack it because that's a lot of sharp little beaks that are all going to be pointed to the sky if a predator swoops down on the penguins. So they're gathering up into those rafts, getting ready to come home. The rafts may break up and will find their own unique pathway home because our penguins always go back to the same burrow. They don't like to move around too much to defend the burrow, and they're trying to keep any other potential males who want to steal their burrow. So if you see two males entering in the burrows, same burrow during the breeding season, I can assure you there'll be quite a bit of a fight that happens. But our penguins, they always go back to the same burrow. They are very much creatures of habit. And being creatures of habit, they're also always showing up just after sunset, give or take half an hour after sunset each and every night when they come home. Now, the penguins that we're going to be seeing coming home tonight, they could all be different than the penguins we saw last night, which is a bit exciting. Our penguins are very good swimmers. They spend 80% of their life out on the ocean, catching their fish, making sure that they're nice and fat and happy and healthy. As they spend 80% of their life on the ocean, they can even sleep on the water. And penguins do, in fact, sleep on the ocean. They might spend up to a month on the ocean at a time, which is pretty exciting. They're not coming home to go to bed for the night. In fact, nighttime is the party time for our penguins. So they'll be awake most of the night, singing their little hearts out. The males will be singing, trying to get a partner to join them for the breeding season. If there's already have a partner at home, there'll be a lot of little festivities happening in their burrow this evening. And hopefully we'll be able to have a sneak peek and see what's happening in the colony tonight, which would be really exciting. All right, as I'm looking around, I am noticing it's getting darker and darker. You can notice that the lights are starting to go down. We'll just have to see if we can spot any of those rafts coming closer and closer to shore. Our penguins are a little bit late tonight. In the last few nights, they've been showing up around 6:20. There's a really early start last night due to the storms with a 6:05 arrival time. But the nights before, it was about 6:21. So that's all right. The penguins, they run on their own time. They are not necessarily the most punctual. They show up when they are ready. And a penguin is not going to show up before it's ready to come home, before it feels that it is safe. There's no rushing these little cuties. They have to come home at some point tonight when they want to come home, but there's no rush. There's no necessity for them to be brave and be the first penguins out. If you're a little penguin, I like to say wisdom precludes bravery for penguins, because a brave penguin is not going to have a very long lifespan when it comes to venturing out onto land. Penguins are at their most vulnerable on the land. And they know this. They know that they love the water. That's the safest place for them to be. So they're going to stay there for as long as they can, make sure that their journey is safe and sound tonight. Especially for those penguins who have babies waiting for them at home, they want to make sure that they get back home to their babies. All right, so let us know in the comments, has anybody spotted a raft of penguins that I might have missed? There's a lot of choppy waves out there. I'm scanning around, but I haven't spotted a raft just yet. I'm looking for a disturbance in the water. The cameras are a little bit blurry, apologies. It's a bit misty out there, so our time focusing on the right areas. But let us know if you spot little penguins' heads sticking out of the water. They'll look like a little black spot on the ocean. Bit of a disturbance, moving at a different speed than the waves. All right, let's just kind of scanning around. Usually our penguins come up first where this camera is located, but occasionally we have some cheeky penguins who might show up down the beach. Let's have a bit of a zoom down here, see if we can spot any penguins down here. Not yet. I can see Linda. She's our ranger on the stand in that distance over there. You might be able to spot a bit of an orange jacket just by that light pole. She's keeping an eye out for any penguins who are coming up at the far beach. Her role tonight is to count all the penguins that are coming up at the very far end of the beach tonight. And Rachel is in the building. She'll be counting all of the other penguins crossing this beach tonight. Oh, it's getting a bit exciting waiting for these penguins. You know they're going to show up soon, but we have to be patient. Your patience will be rewarded with penguins, believe me.
So, Stephen, whilst we're waiting, we've got one question from 7-year-old Lily and 14-year-old Grace. Where do they go when they're out at sea? So, what they actually do is they go out fishing all day. So, the sea is their supermarket, their restaurant. So, they're out there fishing all day long. They'll even have a rest out there for up to 4 minutes at a time. So what they're doing, once they've got this really full belly, they'll be heading back into shore, which is what we're waiting for to see them doing tonight. So hopefully they won't be too far away. Keep watching, guys.
That's right. So the penguins have been filling themselves up with fish out on the ocean. There's lots of types of fish that they like to eat, but the ones that they really need to be focusing on are the small fish. Because our penguins are very small. They're only 33 centimeters tall, about a kilogram in weight. And for those who might be visiting from the US, so watching us from the US, that's about a foot in height and just over 2 pounds in weight. They're very small little penguins. And they can't munch on the salmon that are out there. That's far too big for them to be able to fit in their beak. They're going to be eating anchovies and pilchards and baby fish of a variety of sorts. They'll even have a nibble on squid. And we noticed just a couple of years ago when we put a little GoPro on one of our penguins who ventured out there that our penguins can even eat jellyfish. We had no idea that penguins like to eat jellyfish, but we caught them on our cameras, and that was pretty special to see. So they'll be filling up their bellies full of fish. They're not going to come home onto land until their bellies are full. That's very important for penguins because there is no food on land for our penguins. They don't eat anything on land. If you see any penguins pecking at the grass or the bushes nearby, they're not eating any of the vegetation. They're just plucking it out and bringing it to their burrows, making their burrow comfortable and ready to have babies in. All right. I haven't heard from our penguin counter just yet that there's penguins at the water's edge, so we might have a bit of a look around the colony and see if there's any action happening around. There's a few penguins that might be thinking of coming out and having a look around, because once the sun goes down, any of the penguins who've been spending their time at home will be thinking of coming outside and having a view. There's a burrow right here, but I'm not seeing any penguin activity right there. We'll keep looking around. There's a few of these little boxes around. You can see these little wooden boxes with the branches on top. These are artificial burrows that were made by us, and we've put in the penguin colony to help them establish into suitable areas. Now, the area that we are on right now, the Summerlands Peninsula, wasn't always the best place for little penguins. Back in the mid-80s, we had a housing estate on the top of this hill that we're looking at right here. The Summerlands housing estate was basically a small town. It had about 183 homes, a motel, some shops. It was definitely not the best place for a penguin colony to be established. These penguins were not doing so well with all the cars coming home every night after sunset. They're out on the roads. We did something pretty amazing here. We managed to buy back an entire town just to save the penguin colony that was here. It was back in 1985. They estimated there's about 12,000 little penguins here on the Summerlands Peninsula, and the numbers were dropping quite drastically year after year. The government stepped in and they decided to do a bit of a buyback starting in the mid-80s, and it lasted till about 2010. The last house was bought back just 10 years ago. All right. So I zoomed in a little too much. There's some penguins at the water's edge right here. Sorry if I got distracted. I just heard over the radio that we have penguins at the water's edge, and here they come. They're a little bit late tonight, but we're happy to see them arrive. Now that's a nice group of penguins that's coming out for our first group. Let's see if we can follow them on their journey home. So these little penguins, they've been spending the whole day out in the ocean. Most of them would have been spending probably a few days out on the ocean at the very least. And after a long time looking for fish, filling up their bellies, they're on a journey back home, which is really exciting to see. They're hopping over those little rocks right there, scrambling their best. Now, penguins are not the most agile creatures on land. I'm sure you can see that right now. You might see a few penguins stumble and trip and fall, but don't worry, they have a very low center of gravity. They'll be fine, even if they do trip over their own feet. Let's try and zoom in and watch these guys crossing the beach. Get a bit of a focus there, camera. And look at that group. Does anybody have an idea of how many penguins we can see in that first group? Leave a comment down and have your guess. Poor Rachel doesn't have much beach to work with tonight. These penguins just appear on like magic on the water's edge, crossing into the sand dunes and disappear from her view. So she's got to be very quick to count these penguins. You can see them shaking their heads and shaking their flippers, trying to get those last little droplets of water off themselves. Got a few penguins who are preening as well, and others who don't want to preen on these rocks. They want to get on their journey home. Ooh. Some of them look a little nervous, looking around the water. Let's follow this guy, see where he's going to go. Looks like he's just going under the stands here. So this is our Penguins Plus stand right here, ladies and gentlemen. And when we open back up, you can buy tickets to sit on that little wooden stand right in front of you. And these penguins might be swimming underneath your feet. So when everything does open back up, we look forward to seeing you back here with your smiling faces, excited to see these penguins again. I love watching these penguins just jumping into this shallow pool on their journey home. Penguins love to swim. If they could have it their way, they would have a little pool the whole way home. Ooh, and we got a little purple swamp hen just in the pool right here. Our penguins are looking at it. Not too sure about this. Ooh, let's see if we can get some better focus. Don't worry, the purple swamp hen is not a predator of our little penguins. It is a herbivore. It's not going to bother the penguins too much. And in all fairness, if these two birds were to get into a fight, my money's on the penguins because they are a carnivore. Now, the purple swamp hen is not a very aggressive bird. So the penguins are just giving a bit of it a berth. They know they're not the most agile creatures on land. They're not looking to pick a fight with any species of birds. They just want to make sure they get home safe and sound. Oh, look at these little penguins waddling around the corner. I'm sure they're going to be coming through very soon. Let's see if we can get a view of the penguin pathway. There we go. Sorry, a little bit late. They're coming up there on the top screen. There we go. And they're just coming around the corner. Look at those little penguins waddle their way home. Isn't that fantastic? So these little penguins are on a journey home, and they might have to wander up to 2 kilometers to reach their burrows. Now, some of the penguins, they're a bit more lucky. They have those beachfront properties. They don't have to walk as far. But other penguins, they live way far away from the beach, and they've got a bit of a long journey ahead of them. But don't worry, the penguins have no rush to get home. They've got all night to make it home, so they could be wandering home, waddling home. They might even take a nap on their walk home, a little penguin sleep. Now, penguins are fascinating sleepers. When they are asleep, they only sleep for 4 minutes at a time. All right, let's try and get you back. Oops, that's the wrong one. Let's try and get you back to where the penguins are crossing the beach. Sorry for the motion blur. You might get a little bit seasick watching this, trying to scan quickly across the beach, getting back to where we saw those penguins crossing. Just a few on the rocks right there. And I'm sure there'll be more groups coming out very soon. So I was talking about penguins who like to sleep. Now they sleep for 4 minutes at a time. And that doesn't matter where they are, whether they're on the ocean or whether they're on land or in their burrows, when penguins go to sleep, it's a very short, quick sleep. But they do sleep many, many times every day and every night, which is absolutely fantastic. We've got another group coming across our camera here. Let's watch them waddling on past. So pay attention to any of these penguins. If you see one stop for a while, it can even sleep standing up. It maybe tilts its head back up into the sky and it's not moving for a few minutes. That would be a sleeping penguin. Oh, fantastic. Let's have a look along the beach and see if we can spot any more penguins. Oh, perfect timing. Another group of penguins just appeared on the water's edge right here. These ones might disappear behind our bushes. They might disappear out of view. That's absolutely fantastic. They're forming almost a conga line to get across the beach. Now, they don't want to spend too much time on the sand. This is where the penguins are at their most vulnerable. There's nowhere for them to really hide on the sand. There's no vegetation for them to duck under. They might have to run back to the water to find the safest place. So they're trying to get across this beach fairly quickly as a penguin can comfortably waddle, because there is safety in the bushes or there's safety in the ocean. Not much safety there on the wet sand. Now I reckon those penguins that just came across the beach are going to join these lovely penguins on the rocks. You can see a couple of penguins popping their heads out right there. Oh, there we go. Got the camera to focus a little bit. Wonderful. Yeah, these penguins are definitely resting here on the rocks, waiting for this next group to show up. We'll see if those 3 penguins that we saw just resting on the rocks decide to stay. Maybe they'll decide to get a head start on this group that just showed up. Now, I love to call these rocks the resting rocks because our penguins almost every night tend to pause on these rocks. They do a bit of a rest, they preen their feathers, and they're making sure that all of their feathers are in nice order. Now, penguin feathers are absolutely fantastic. These penguins use their feathers to keep their skin nice and dry. Penguins are waterproof birds. They have very high density feathers all over their body, and the feathers kind of interlock to make sure none of the water that is in the ocean touches their skin, and they get a little bubble of air around their torso. They have these downy feathers tucked underneath their outside feathers, and in those downy feathers there's quite a bit of air that helps our penguins float on top of the water. A bit like how a basketball floats on the ocean. If you take it out there, all the air inside keeps them nice and buoyant on the water, and penguins use this buoyancy to help them catch fish in the ocean. Oh, look at these lovely penguins swimming home, jumping into the water there, and they're off. It's absolutely special to see these penguins swimming so close. It's up and personal. You can see the groups are a bit of a separation happening between them. Some of the penguins are coming down underneath the camera, and other penguins are using a different pathway to go home, which is pretty special. Let's watch these penguins on the pathway just in front of us, waddling their way into view. It never gets old watching penguins waddle. They're very cute. Now, if you want to waddle like a penguin or learn how to waddle properly like a penguin, there's a very easy trick to waddle like a penguin. I want you to look at these penguins' legs, and you might have a very hard time finding their knees. Now, penguins, their knees are actually located in their torso, and their knees are completely fused together. So penguins cannot bend their knees. So if you want to waddle like a penguin, jump out of your seat at home and try and waddle with a penguin by keeping your legs perfectly straight. Don't bend your knees, and you'll be able to walk just like a penguin does. Well, it looks like that group has just already gone too far up the hill to be able to follow them. Let's head back to the beach and see what we can find. There might be some more penguins on these rocks. Lovely, there we go. Yeah, love just watching them hopping over these rocks on their journey home. Some of them are a bit more cautious than others, taking dainty little leaps. Others are happy to just crash and bash over the rocks. They're just in a hurry to get home as quickly as possible. Now, the penguins that are on these rocks together are on these groups home. They might not even know each other. These are groupings of convenience. So when a penguin gets into a raft on the ocean, they're not joining up with their family members or a hunting party, if you will. They're joining up with the most convenient penguins that they can find around them, and they're just crossing the beach for safety in numbers. So once they get to their own unique pathways, they're going to separate, they're going to split off from those other penguins, and they're going on a journey to their own unique home. Lovely. We got another group of penguins just in front of this camera here. So yeah, that group of penguins, they might all be strangers going on a journey home. One's been fallen down a little bit. We'll keep an eye on him. Just a bit of a stumble. Don't worry, we do have a penguin hospital here on site. So any injured penguins, we can scoop them up, take them to our wildlife clinic. That's not just for penguins, it's for a variety of animals, but we do have a bit of a focus on penguins here. So don't be alarmed if you do see a penguin that might be stumbling a little bit here or there. We can take care of them. But we generally leave penguins be. These are wild animals. And even if they have a bit of a small injury on their leg, a sprained ankle, if you will, it's not a life-threatening injury. It's just a slightly tedious injury for them to deal with, but they will survive. We tend to like to just take the very seriously injured penguins into our wildlife clinic because wild animals don't belong in hospitals too much. It's a very stressful place for them to be. And we like to keep these animals wild and free. And all of these penguins that you see in front of you on the screen and crossing in front of that burrow camera, underground camera to the top right of the screen, these are all wild animals. They were born here, they live here their whole lives, and if they wanted to move to another colony somewhere else, that's their choice. They are free to do so. Love following these couple of penguins right here. They'll be going up the hill on a journey home. Oh, it's pretty fantastic just watching these penguins on their journey up the hill. This is quite a large hill that they've got to climb. It's a very steep hill. It's hard to capture that on the camera. But our penguins, they love living at the top of this hill in the old housing estate that used to be up there. All right, they've disappeared behind the grasses. Let's see if we can find some more penguins. A couple of penguins down here. They don't look too busy doing anything. Now there's no burrow right next to this location. There's a burrow just a few meters away. So I'm guessing they're just having a bit of a rest before they take off on a journey again.
Stephen, I've just got one more quick question from Michelle. How fast do penguins swim when they're out at sea? They can swim as fast as 6 or 7 kilometres an hour, which, when you think about it, they would beat an Olympic swimmer if they had a race. So thanks, Michelle, for that one.
That's a great question. How fast do penguins swim? You're absolutely right. When they're going fast trying to catch fish, they can hit those really quick speeds. They are carnivores after all, so they do have to be fairly quick in order to catch their prey. But as we're watching our penguins swimming across this little pond here, they're definitely not hitting those top speeds. They're having a bit of a lazy swim, a very relaxing swim across this pool. Their speeds are probably around the 2 kilometers an hour mark, but that's fine. It's just a short little dip. They're not in a rush to get home. Oh, there's quite a few penguins in the long grass around here. And the only burrows that we have in this location are those wooden boxes you might see me scrolling past. Some of them have those little white stakes out in front. That's plant protectors, getting good vegetation that'll help grow over these artificial burrows that we've made for the penguins, give them a bit of insulation and shading. There's a lot of work that goes into keeping this penguin colony safe and sustainable for our penguins, making sure it's a suitable habitat for them. Ooh, some more penguins coming out of the ocean here, which is just fantastic. And more penguins walking in front of that camera in the top right as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we do have about 5 minutes left in the stream this evening. So if you do have any final questions you want T to try and answer, don't be shy, put them in the comments. We love reading your questions. It lets us know that you're interested in what we're saying, and maybe you have some burning questions that we haven't answered tonight. Don't be a bit distraught by that. That's all right. We could be doing this for the foreseeable future. We're going to be doing this live stream for quite a while. So tune in tomorrow night, the next night. There'll be a few rangers doing this stream over the coming days and maybe even weeks. It'll be fun for you to join us each and every night because you never know what you're going to see in the penguin colony. Nice large group right there. That's just fantastic.
One quick last question from Jasper. How old do penguins get? So their average ages are in about 7 to 9 years of age, but would you believe, because of all of our conservation work, we've got some that are getting up to 19, 20 years old. Our oldest one was even almost 26 years old. So that just proves all of our wonderful conservation work is working. And just by jumping onto the Penguin Foundation, you might even be able to help us do even more of that. So thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, what a great question. Thank you so much for asking that question. And T is absolutely right. We're doing a lot of conservation work here that's helping our penguins have a safe place to call home on land. And we're going to ask you to do a big favor for our penguins in your own homes. You could be a bit of a penguin protector this evening. Is have a think about all of the plastic that you're using in your own homes. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of plastic in our oceans. It's not good for our penguins to be eating that plastic. So we're going to ask you that make sure all of your plastic rubbish ends up in the right bins and make sure it doesn't pollute our oceans any further. And that could save a penguin's life. That simple little gesture of making sure the rubbish goes in the bin, you could be saving a penguin's life and you could be a penguin protector in your own home. I love watching these penguins going past this underground camera. Now this camera that you're looking at right now is just above our underground viewing section. So you might be able to come back here one day in the future and watch penguins coming right in front of that glass window that you could have seen there, which is wonderful. It's one of my favorite places to view the penguins. They're so close that you can almost kiss them. Wonderful. So the penguin numbers are starting to slow down a little bit. We got this last little group right here. A few groups may show up later in the night, but they'll be smaller in size. Penguins try to come home about an hour after sunset. That's their favorite time to come home. And after that, it's just a few of the stragglers on their way home. The groups will be very small in size. So we've been lucky to get the large groups starting up already. They've already headed on their journey home. And these penguins, they're getting ready to go home for the night. And if they're lucky, they might have their partner waiting for them, or they'll have some chicks in their burrows waiting for them. And the breeding season is definitely getting underway. We're seeing lots of preening behavior here on these rocks. These penguins, they're making sure that their feathers are in mint condition. If they're going to go home and try and attract a partner is not going to be looking at a scruffy penguin as a potential mate. A scruffy penguin is not an effective penguin. We want a sleek and streamlined penguin, making sure all their feathers are in place, and that's the best way to attract a mate. So these penguins are meticulously preening themselves, making themselves beautiful. And who doesn't appreciate a beautiful partner waiting at home? Well, these penguins are definitely getting ready to end the night and head to their burrows and get into all of that fun activities that they do at the nighttime here on Phillip Island. But as it's time for the penguins to go home, it's also time for us to say goodbye and to go home as well tonight. We do want to say a very big thank you for tuning in this evening. It's been so much fun showing the penguins to you tonight. And we do appreciate you tuning in, and feel free to tune in tomorrow or any night in the future. You'll be able to see us back at it again. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.